Thank you and welcome to Working with the World, a very special interview series of our Daini Tokyo Association. So today we are very pleased to welcome Mr. Edward Mears, a foreign registered lawyer practicing in Japan. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to start a basic question.
Sure.
So introduction, your background. So which jurisdiction are you admitted to practice in?
Sure. So I'm originally from the United States of America. I'm from the state of Michigan, which is where I was raised and went to law school at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. After graduating from law school there, I took the California bar exam. And I believe it was the last time that the California bar exam was 3 days. The subsequent year, they changed to 2 days. So I should have waited 1 year longer. But I passed the California bar exam in 2016. A few years later, I want to say around 2020, perhaps 2021, I also applied and was waived into the Washington, D.C. bar. So I'm a member of both the Washington, D.C. and California bars. And I'm also a registered foreign attorney here in Japan.
Thank you. So before coming to Japan, what kind of legal work were you engaged in?
Sure. So actually, I think my situation is a bit unique in that after I graduated law school, I actually went into law school with the goal of coming to Japan. So I looked almost exclusively at law firms that had offices here in Japan, and my goal was to get to Japan as quickly as possible. DLA Piper, who I interviewed with, had an opening. They had just had one of their foreign associates leave. And so I felt this would have been a great opportunity for me to come to Japan. Now that meant that I started my legal career here in Tokyo. Even as an American lawyer, I've actually never practiced in the United States, though of course I advise on US law matters. So I came here in 2016 and started with DLA Piper as a member of their corporate team, where I advise on a wide range of issues, primarily I would say corporate M&A, though as one of the few foreign lawyers, I get involved, of course, in many of our other transactions or even disputes for that matter. As far as my pre-Japan experience, legal experience goes, it's really limited just to my time in law school and several internships that I had while I was in law school. One was at SMBC, the Japanese bank, for a summer between my first and second year of law school. So I worked with their legal team here in Tokyo, which was a great experience to see the inner workings of a large mega bank like SMBC. I really had no experience on that side of business. So I really got to learn how a large bank like SMBC operates both in Japan and internationally. So that was a very interesting experience for me. Between my second and third years of law school, I interned at a law firm in Chile in South America. So I was down there for about a month and a half, working as a member of their disputes team, primarily reviewing arbitration briefs that they were preparing to submit in English for several environmental disputes. So I really enjoyed my time in Chile as well. Very different, obviously, from Japan, but there are connections with Japan. Chile's mining industry is very important for many Japanese trading companies. So I believe some of the work that we were doing down there touched and concerned Japanese interests. So even while I was in a very different part of the world, I tried to maintain that connection here to Japan.
Very unique career. So you said you had an internship in Tokyo in 2000 during your law school days.
Yep.
So when did you first come to Japan first?
Okay.
Besides work or
sure. Yeah. So we'll have to rewind even further. One of my middle school classmates was Japanese. He still remains my best friend to this day. And because of him, I became interested in Japan. We went to different high schools, but after high school, he invited me to come visit his family here in Japan. This must have been 2003, I believe. At the time, I'll admit I was not very interested in Japan. I have a great friendship with my friend, but it just never occurred to me that, oh, I could go visit him and his family here. However, my mother encouraged me, and she said, Yosuke's been such a good friend, you should go visit. And it was also the summer that SARS was happening in Hong Kong and mainland China, so the plane tickets were very cheap. So I thought, why not? So I flew over. I stayed here for about 2 weeks, mostly in Tokyo, though we did make a trip to Osaka also. And I really just fell in love with the country. I'd traveled to a few other countries previously, but I'd never really felt the way I'd felt about a foreign country until I'd come to Japan. So I went back to the United States and started my freshman year of college. And at my university, they had a requirement that you study a foreign language for 1 semester. So I had done Latin my entire high school and middle school career and was just sick and tired of it. And I thought, okay, I just need to do 1 semester of a language. I just got back from Japan. I really enjoyed it. So let's do Japanese for 1 semester and then I'm done. So I did first semester Japanese, and for some strange reason, the language just clicked with me in a way that other foreign languages hadn't. And from that day, really, I started pursuing more seriously studies in Japanese. So I studied the Japanese language, and then I also wound up studying Japanese history, culture, and ultimately became a Japanese major. So my major in undergraduate was Japanese studies. I attended Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and one of their requirements was that I study abroad in Japan for either 1 semester or 1 year. So I came and attended Waseda University from 2005 to 2006 in the Kokusai Kyoyo Gakubu, which was a great experience. I finally got to live here for a longer period of time. And really experience Japanese culture. And it was also during this time that I was very fortunate, and I forgot to mention this earlier actually, to get a summer internship around my year abroad at the law offices of Sakai Mimura, which is Hideyuki Sakai, who is now a senior counsel at Anderson Mori, and probably one of Japan's most famous bankruptcy attorneys. At the time, I was just an undergraduate. So in the United States, we don't study law until we go to law school. So I really had no legal study experience even, but Sakai Sensei was kind enough to invite me to come and work at his law firm over the summers, where I primarily was an English teacher to many of the Japanese attorneys. As a boutique bankruptcy firm at the time, they did have many international clients or Japanese matters that involved foreign jurisdictions, primarily in the United States, concerning Chapter 11 bankruptcies. So having a good command of English was very important. So I would have regular English language private classes with the attorneys there. And I also would, on occasion, do some English cleanup of some documents. That was a very great experience, and I'm very grateful to Sakai Sensei for that, because he really didn't have to give me, who was not a law student, that sort of opportunity. But I think that kind of started my interest in possibly one day pursuing a career in law in Japan. And ever since then, my professional and personal life has been entwined with Japan in some way. So after I completed my studies at Georgetown, I wound up doing the JET program, which is a government-sponsored program to bring English teachers into the public school system here in Japan. I was assigned to a middle school in a very rural part of Saga prefecture in Kyushu. So I spent 2 years there, which was a very different experience to living in Tokyo. And I was very nervous at the time. I had never been to Kyushu, really. Didn't know much about Saga, but the people there were so gracious and very nice and friendly. And I really, really enjoyed the students that I worked with there, who, even though they were in this very tiny farming village in Japan, still had deep interest in learning English and learning more about me and my background. So I really cherish those 2 years that I had in Saga Prefecture. I did that for 2 years, and I really enjoyed it, though I kind of felt like I wasn't sure if I wanted to commit my career to being a teacher. So I decided after 2 years that I was going to move to Tokyo and try and pursue a different career. I'm a big sports fan, so I wanted to see how I could break into the world of sports. This is all before I became a lawyer, so just very much on the business side of things. And it was at this time that I was fortunate to connected to one of the big Japanese advertising agencies here in Tokyo, and they hired me and sent me to New York, where I worked for their New York office on matters related to sports broadcasting. So I did that for 4 years, which was very interesting. I think I have a great memory of those 4 years, and that was the time when I really got to use my Japanese on a day-to-day basis, working with Japanese colleagues and clients around the broadcast rights for Major League Baseball. And while I was there, I wasn't a lawyer. I was primarily doing production work, but contracts would come across my desk on occasion. And I remember reading through some of them and thinking about my time working at Sakai Sensei's office and wondering if perhaps I could go to law school, become a lawyer, and work in sports law or something that connects Japan and the United States. So that motivated me to seriously consider going to law school. My father is actually also an attorney. He's retired now, but growing up, I had seen him work, and I had always thought, maybe this is a career for me, but maybe not. But I had never found a real good reason as to why I wanted to go study law. But it was when I was working at this ad agency and seeing these contracts that I finally felt that, this is something I can and want to do. So I decided to make the jump to law school. Sorry, that was a long answer, but
too interesting and too complicated. So usually many attorneys say that because their father or mother was a lawyer, so they decided
Sure.
to become a lawyer. But in your case,
yeah.
finally to become a lawyer.
Yeah, I think my father growing up, especially when I was an undergraduate and I was thinking about law school, I went and talked to him, and I think his message to me was really, don't go to law school just because I went to law school and I'm a lawyer. Find a real interest or reason why you want to do this. And I think when I was an undergraduate, I didn't really quite yet have that. So I felt maybe law school is not for me. And part of me also wanted to do something a little bit different than my father. So I ended up taking the long route, but it eventually brought me back. And it was once I found a real passion for it or for something in the law that interested me, that I felt it was a good, appropriate time to go to law school and become a lawyer. So I'm glad I did it, and maybe it took longer than most people, but it's been a great and rewarding experience.
You should write book, for career path, because many it's impressive for me, the story. So you don't intend to become a lawyer first of all, but from the very first time with your middle school friend, Japanese friend,
right?
He. Sakai Sensei or MLB Sports Agency or Saga Prefecture, Chile, Tokyo. You said Singapore, right?
Singapore, yes. So I also so after I came to Japan as a lawyer this time in 2016. In order to meet some of the requirements for the NIBEN registration, I had to practice outside Japan for at least 1 year. So our firm, DLA Piper, has offices all in the region, and so it was easy and convenient. I think they had an opening at the time for me to move to our Singapore office, where I was working with several other U.S. lawyers advising on U.S. matters. So I went and worked there. Unfortunately, that was during the middle of COVID, so it was a bit of a strange experience in some sense. But I also did get to experience working at a law firm in Singapore and seeing and contrasting that with my experience here in Japan. So that's really helped me, I think, understand the region. And of course, Singapore is a very important partner for Japan. So of course, many Japanese businesses are operating there. And I continue even today to work on matters that involve Singapore. So very grateful for that experience as well.
Yeah. So you absorb a lot of nutrition from all over the world.
Yeah. And I think Singapore it's a common law jurisdiction, so it's a bit more familiar to me as a common law lawyer. So I think more easily understood. But although I think the unique situation there was our firm primarily advised on non-Singapore matters. So it was really a wide range of matters all over Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Indonesia, elsewhere. So that really exposed me to much of Southeast and other parts of Asia. So it's a very, very interesting experience.
So now international committee is looking for a team leader of Singapore team.
Oh,
so
happy to contribute what I can. Yeah.
You are the most appropriate person, I think. Thank you. And move to the next question. So you already explained a lot. So, but could you please tell me about your current work in Japan? What kind of matters or clients you usually?
Sure. Yeah, so DLA Piper, we're a very large law firm. We have a presence in over 40 countries. And Japan is, of course, one of our very important offices. I would say our larger firm clientele primarily consists of these bigger multinational companies, some based in the United States or Europe. So a lot of what we do at DLA is assisting the local Japan law aspects of these larger restructurings or M&A transactions. So that's, I would say, on the inbound side of things is what we do. And in those transactions, I, of course, work very closely with our Japanese bengoshi. I feel at DLA, we've got a very almost unique situation in where the foreign side of the law firm and the Japanese bengoshi side work very closely together. And this allows us to provide seamless advice for our foreign clients when working here in Japan and helping translate Japanese law issues in a way that is understandable and actionable for our clients. On the outbound side, we of course work with many Japanese clients who are looking to do things in the United States or in Europe. And I would say we cover many different sectors, and I'd say our sweet spot for deal size is in like the 200 to 500 million size. This talking about M&A here. So it's I would say the medium size deals are where we look, and we're involved in many different sectors, as I said. I've been involved a lot on the media, sport, and entertainment side, given my background working in advertising. So that's a very important sector for me, and helping with those clients who are, for example, I've done work with US television shows who are filming things here in Japan, getting rights clearances and all of that. I've also been doing a lot in the video game space recently, as we've seen a convergence between traditional media and video games. I mean, you're seeing lots of video games turn into movies that are then making hundreds of millions of dollars. And a lot of that IP sits here in Japan, which has some of the most well-known and famous video game brands. So I've been working with many of these companies to help with their expansion efforts abroad. And of course, I will say the really hot sector right now is AI and data centers. So I've been doing a lot of that as well. This has just been a real gold rush, I would say, in that space. And of course, Japan is a very important jurisdiction here in Asia, at the forefront of AI, really. So we're seeing a lot of interest from our foreign clients in AI technology and also in data centers here in Japan. So we've been advising on that.
So you say the video game became a converted in the movie. I heard that the Minecraft movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so that sort of thing. And I think just a few days ago they announced there's a new Mario movie coming out. That they're not a client. That's just some public news. But yeah, I think there's, especially in the United States, there's a real interest in Japanese culture and video games, manga, etc. So even these brands, Japanese brands, are well known. Even in Pokemon, for example, right? So I think the U.S. and Europe are very important markets for these Japanese IP holders, and it's great to see that they're getting even more exposure and market penetration, given this convergence that we're seeing.
Thank you. So next question.
Yep.
This is for you not so important question, but for us it's very most important question about Daini Tokyo Association.
Sure.
So you are a member of the Daini Tokyo Association, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
NIBEN. So why did you choose to register with NIBEN?
Sure. So when I became Gaiben, I really didn't understand how the different bar associations worked here in Japan. In the U.S., you only have one choice. You register with the bar of the state that you pass the bar exam in. So it was a bit strange for me to understand that, oh, there's several I can choose from. And so I didn't know much at the time, but I did some research and went on the NIBEN website to learn a bit more about what they do, and I was impressed. I think with the international flavor that NIBEN had in comparison to some of the other bar. I'm not trying to disparage the other bar associations, but that really gave me some comfort that me as an international lawyer would probably fit well in the NIBEN community. I think the other thing was I did speak to many of my colleagues in our DLA office, including Gaiben and Japanese Bengoshi, as to, hey, what should I do here? And I know that several of our other Gaiben were also registered with NIBEN. And several of my colleagues, especially from around the same age as me, were also members of NIBEN, and they had great things to say about NIBEN. So I felt it was pretty easy at that point. I liked what I'd seen publicly from NIBEN, and then I also had colleagues who were recommending it. So that's the decision I made, and it was a great opportunity to meet you all and the rest of the community here.
You said you check the website.
Yes.
English page of NIBEN?
Yeah, I think English page. Yeah, that's right.
Actually, not so good.
No, I know, but better than the other options. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was an international committee, so there was ways for me to get involved with NIBEN if I wanted to. So.
Do you have any other resource to research about NIBEN? Only website?
Yeah, it was really only
story about from other
not
client, colleagues.
That's right. Yeah, that's was really the at the time what I was able to learn.
It's when?
That must have been around 2021.
20.
Yeah, because I believe I obtained my Gaiben registration in November 2021, so it would have been either right then or soon after, so perhaps 2022.
So during still COVID.
Still COVID, yeah.
If you can look.
Sure, yeah.
This kind of video is helpful for.
I think so. I think many foreign lawyers who are here in Japan probably also don't have much familiarity with the bar associations, especially younger lawyers when they come over. So I think having initiatives like this or other ways to reach out to the foreign lawyer community, legal community here, would be great PR for NIBEN. I do think, because as I said, I really didn't, the first bar association, the second bar association, what is the difference there? I think it was very, as I said, strange to me as someone who only ever had a choice to join the California Bar Association, right? So yeah, being able to educate folks more and seeing the types of activities and offerings that you have for foreign lawyers, I think would be great. Especially, I've really, and I'll talk about this later, really enjoyed the networking events that you guys have put on. It's a great way to meet Japanese lawyers and other professionals and talk in a relaxed setting, about our careers and how we can work together or collaborate. So I think those types of opportunities are very, very important, and I think would be a big differentiator as if I were a new lawyer again, looking for a bar association.
Thank you. So you talked about also the communication with NIBEN lawyers. So could you explain about how have you ever your experience inside NIBEN after you registered in the NIBEN?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the atmosphere or NIBEN or the communication with NIBEN lawyers?
Sure. Yeah, I think the NIBEN's done a great job of the International Committee of sending out emails to keep us advised of what's going on. I do know, I mean, I do speak Japanese, so even the Japanese emails I can get through. Although I do know that, for example, other foreign lawyers may not have as much Japanese language expertise. So having those English emails come from the International Committee to keep us advised of what's going on has been extremely helpful. I've also, as I said, really enjoyed the networking events. That's a great way. I think as lawyers, we tend to just see each other across on a transaction, and that can be an adversarial setting, of course, right? So it's these opportunities with NIBEN give us a great chance to sit down with folks who, outside of that work context, and get to learn more about each other's practices, trade best practices. And also, of course, look for opportunities for collaboration, be that referring clients to each other, or even potentially writing an article on legal issues together. So very grateful for that. I'd love to do more and with the International Committee. And I think there probably is a real appetite amongst the foreign legal community here to find opportunities where they can more freely mix with Japanese members of the bar and of NIBEN especially.
Thank you. So you mentioned about the collaboration with other lawyers in Japan.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice to Japanese young lawyers to collaborate with NIBEN international work?
Yeah, I think as a young lawyer, you're not expected to bring in clients yet. You're not going to be in a position really to refer work. So where I think the real collaboration is going to be is in possibly on putting stuff together like news articles, or volunteering to work on a panel discussion on certain topics. So if you're a young Japanese bengoshi who's interested in working with international lawyers or on working on cross-border matters, I think finding a way, especially with the younger foreign lawyers, to work on something would be very interesting and useful. I note that the Daini Bar Association puts out publications, so to the extent articles could be written and put out about certain topics, I think would be a great way to build relationships and collaborate.
Thank you so much. So as the final question, so looking ahead, so looking toward the future, what are your goals as a lawyer in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love Japan, and I really want to see Japan succeed, especially in these very uncertain times, and really to foster a great relationship between my home country, the United States, and Japan. So the extent that I can help clients here, be they American companies coming into Japan or Japanese companies going abroad to the United States or elsewhere, I really see myself as kind of a bridge between these two cultures and legal systems. So that's my real passion. That's where I think I provide the most value. So I'd like to continue that work and ensure that there's always this kind of cross-border flow of ideas and deals between the United States and Japan. And also, I think and this gets back to your earlier question, but bringing up these younger generation of not only foreign lawyers but also Japanese lawyers. I think my experience as a teacher many years ago in Saga, my role in a way was to open up new doors and windows for my Japanese students. So to the extent that there are young Japanese lawyers who are interested in learning more about the United States, maybe someday they want to go study for an LLM or pass the New York bar exam, for example. I'd love to see that exchange of ideas and persons between countries, as I think that's very important, especially in a time like we're experiencing now, where things are becoming a bit more fragmented. So having those sort of people-to-people exchanges is very, very critical.
Great. So, then how do you see your collaboration with Japanese lawyers and law firms now and in the future?
Yeah, so I think outside of doing just referral work, obviously that's very important, but finding ways to collaborate with Japanese lawyers, I think would be very interesting. One of my big passions is history. So I really like reading about the history of foreign lawyers here in Japan. It started off, it wasn't until the 1980s that the Gaiben system was really put in place. And so learning about those predecessors and how that they worked with Japanese law firms is very interesting to me. I have a few mentors who are connected to some of these, I would say, famous, legendary foreign lawyers. And I'd love to someday work with Japanese lawyers to perhaps write some histories about how the Gaiben system developed in Japan and the history of foreign lawyers here, and also of Japanese lawyers going and working in the United States. So if there's a way to do that, I'd love to do that. That's a bit outside of my legal work, but it's something that really interests me, and I think there is other interest in documenting that too. So I'd love to find a way to do that. But from a work perspective, I think it's that referral work. It's building those relationships, becoming a trusted advisor for Japanese companies and of course Japanese law firms. I also think that there's lots of room to collaborate on writing about legal issues, be it in newsletters or other articles, or sitting on panel discussions, as I've said earlier, to talk about these issues. And I think NIBEN is a great place to network with other lawyers outside of my law firm to find ways that we can collaborate and work together.
Thank you so much. So we are looking forward to collaborate with you.
Yes.
in the future too. Thank you so much today and sharing your thoughts and experience.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Very much.
This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.